Yes, we can admit.
So how is the technical? Okay.
Kobani ro khamgin Kobani ro khamgin dşev telaş bxina Kobani ro khamgin dşev telaş bxina Esri çavam barine ah rujava Esri çavam barine ah rujava Civanin ve çekra kırın Rahtubun ba eriş kırın Civanin ve çekra kırın Rahtubun ba eriş kırın Gülüp singevan ver kırın Bişi her du hezir kervan Kobani ro khamgine dşev telaş bxina Kobani ro khamgine dşev telaş bxina Esri çavan barine ah rujava Esri çavan barine ah rujava Kobani ro khamgine dşev telaş bxina Kobani ro khamgine dşev telaş bxina Esri çavan barine ah rujava Esri çavan barine ah rujava Sırmeyda zat bu kuban dilan gerand heval viyan Sırmeyda azat bu kuban dilan gerand heval viyan Gelime yek dengi bankır Beşime mustaye zaman Kobani ro khamgine dşev telaş bxina Kobani ro khamgine dşev telaş bxina Esri çavan barine ah rujava Esri çavan barine ah rujava Kobani ro khamgine dşev telaş bxina Kobani ro khamgine dşev telaş bxina Esri çavan barine ah rujava Esri çavan barine ah rujava Ah rujava hey rujava Ah rujava hey rujava Ah rujava
والله سلاح الدراك مشان
تالي
ماي تختمي تالي عم دري عشان السركاني
دستار وخش بهنا شورش الواشو تالي
دستار وخش بهنا شورش الواشو تالي هاتو مارزبان انقل الجيد الجيان هقا الجيد الجيان هقا يكتنا جنگا گیران رنگ درویش و سواران يكتنا جنگا گیران رنگ درویش و سواران لكن شر تورانا حرب لهم برمغلاجيان لكن شر تورانا حرب لهم برمغلاجيان هاتو فارزبان انقل الجيد الجيان هقا بالجيد الجيان هقا
كزي هونانا للشفرم برخدانه
كزي هونانا للشفرم برخدانه
ميدان قادا شيرانه للشفران ربويرانه
ميدان قادا شيرانه للشفران ربويرانه هاتو فارزبان انقل الجيد الجيان الجيد الجيان هقا
todos los
بدانا دا هول الواشوكاني تي هولي بدانا دا هول الواشوكاني تي هولي
هلا وهلا وهلا جي أشرفي رهيلا
هلا وهلا وهلا جي غسالي رهيلا
هلا وهلا يرز يرور هلا
هلا وهلا وهلا جي غسالي هلا هلا وهلا جي غسالي هلا هلا وهلا وهلا جي غسالي
واي لمني واي لمني واي لمني واي لمني واي لمني واي لمني واي لمني واي لمني لمني لضايم ولا زيرو دنا بادلي خدنا لبد بهم هي واخل من هي واخل من هي واخل من دوا زيرو بر خدانا كوباني بكمل بس سر زمانه بقرنم نواحم وعالم وإنسانم آخل مني واي لمني واي لمني واي لمني واي لمني لمني لضايم ولا زي شافي خود قرنم در دورا كوباني قرت يمشي بدومان شر جنگو قرانم ديرو دنگه تانگو توپانه بنا بارت راد به عرش لازمانم آخل مني واي لمني واي لمني واي لمني واي لمني ولد ساکت چو خورته کردانه بسینگا خوبونه مرتاله بری تانگو توپانه آخ وایل منه وایل منه وایل منه وایل منه وایل منه لمنه لدایم ولدایم از دینا خود دمه کلانی کوبانی حسری چاوی دای کانم دیرو قرنی کتگن آواز روز چوکالو پیرانه وایل منیم حسری چاوی زارو کامکی چمی فراد کلانی کوبانی دهرکم آخل منه وایل منه وایل منه وایل منه وایل منه لمنه لدایم ولدای زیر و رابم به چلو چار زمانی بخوینه بده پس نه بر خدا ناصر زوریم دته دا فرماندار پیمانه بیاز در حوالا مورا خودی رو کارش دانیانم آخ لمنه لیل منه ویل منه لول منه ویل منه لدایم ولدای رو دسا در دورا کبانی فرمانه فرمانان امرتانم
Alo, Çiğdem'e bak. Nojin Rozif burada bir hoş geldin diyelim, bir söyleyelim ki Kürtçe. Biraz bekliyoruz, birkaç dakika sonra başlıyoruz. Sadece onu söyleyelim. Sonra müziğine devam. He? Kime? Salı Müslüm de evet. Burada mı değil mi? Başla. Kürtçe söyleyeyim, sen kapat bende. Hadi. خشک براین هیجا حوالین هیجان گلگ بخیراتن به تایبتی جما مستا امی هیجا و برای دما خودان ما مستا سالس دنگی متید؟ دنگ تید؟ نه دنگ تید از به تایبتی جما مستا سال گلگ سپاس دکم دما خودان ما هاتن گل بخیراتن ما مستا حوالین میت هیجا روزی و نوجین جی جورن خیراتن آوان دکم گلگ سپاس جبو بشتار بین آوان ام نها بار کم ام چند دقیقه دی بنده که هنده میوانین میت کرد خازم بشتر من ام چند دقیقه بسکنین جدیده امی پروگرام خود دست بگین جاردن گلک سپاس کم هن گلک بخیراتن راسی هم گلک های خوشن سرکتن جبرا سپاس
Slavoriz jbo agishkan, Slavoriz jbo aval table boyi, eko vatshta amade kri, degum am galaki kif khoshan spas jbo agishkan.
گلک بخیراتن سپاس
اول مرحبا دنباش
Dambash sarchavanam.
Yavaş başlaval, dember, seseren seseven.
Dambash bowaji.
Hi, Sue, Fionn, it's up to you.
Okay, I think Fionn is starting the first part. Hi.
I am. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this World Kobani Day Solidarity event online on Zoom and streaming on YouTube. It's great to have you here. Welcome to all our speakers, to our guests, to all our friends and Havals, wherever you are, I think around the world, which is great. We're quite stretched for time this evening, so I won't speak long. I'll just speak very briefly about World Kobani Day and what the day signifies. It's held on the 1st of November every year. 2021 is the 8th anniversary of World Kobani Day, and it commemorates and celebrates the liberation, the heroic resistance in Kobani to Islamic State and other jihadist forces. And by extension, it commemorates and celebrates the huge sacrifices and the great resistance in Rojava generally. But in 2014, 1st of November in that year was a day of enormous international protests for Kobani. Kobani was then in the middle of an enormous struggle against occupation. The Islamic State was attacking at that stage, and the resistance was well underway. And eventually, as 2014 ended and the beginning of 2015, it was successful. IS was beaten back from Kobani, eventually beaten back from the villages around Kobani, and the tide had turned, and eventually went over many years and with huge sacrifice on the part of the people of Rojava. Islamic State was defeated territorially, at least in Syria. So that's essentially what World Kobani Day is about. A very important day for the people of Rojava and for all those who support what the Kurdish freedom movement is doing in that region and elsewhere. Look, I think I'll leave my comments there. Other speakers will no doubt talk about World Kobani Day, and we can have discussion on it at the end of the webinar. Sorry, I should have introduced myself. My name's Fionn Skiotis. I'm a member of Australians for Kurdistan here in Melbourne. I'm one of the co-chairs for this session, and my co-chair with me is Sue Bolton, who spoke initially, and I'll hand over to her now. Thanks, Sue.
Thanks, Fionn. I'll start with an acknowledgement of country. The land we're standing on in what is known as Australia, a continent that was colonised by the British, is actually the land of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, the First Nations. I'd like to pay tribute to any of their elders, past, present, and future, and anyone who's Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander with us today, and especially like to pay tribute to their warriors and freedom fighters. And there is actually a lot in common between the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander struggle and the Kurdish struggle. Forced assimilation and stolen generation and many, many things. So I'd like to acknowledge that we're standing on the land. Where I'm standing is the land of the Wurundjeri Wurrung, and that's also where Kurdish House is based, is the land of the Wurundjeri Wurrung in Melbourne or Naarm. We're going to go to play the Kurdish national anthem now. So I'll hand over to our tech team to put the national anthem on.
Can I just say it's a salute to martyrs that is next, to honour the martyrs in Rojava and elsewhere, the many young lives that were lost in protecting the movement there.
راهب بر مای قومی کرد زمان ناشکی و دانای تو به زمان ناشکی و دانای تو به زمان اسم کردن برن اسم کردن برن کرد جنده به بتاجبی آلا کردن جنده به بتاجبی آلا کردن هم خوردن رنگ زور و شورشی سردکن کنادیان مدارشان سردکن کنادیان مدارشان اسم کردن برن اسم کردن برن کرد جنده برن جنده به بتاجبی آلا کردن جنده به بتاجبی آلا کردن هم خوردن مریو کی مثل
Shahid Namaran.
Xinjiang Azadi.
We remember all the martyrs. Over to you now, Sue, I think, to introduce our first speaker, please.
Thanks. And just before I introduce our first speaker, I'll explain the format of this evening. We're privileged to have 3 speakers here direct from Rojava, which is just wonderful. What we're planning to do is have all 3 speakers speak first, and then there'll be questions, a Q&A later on, questions and answer from the audience and the speakers later on. It'd be great if people could turn off their mics or put their mics on silent during the speakers, because that will make the internet work a lot more clearly. Our first speaker tonight is going to be Saleh Muslim. I don't think anyone here who's online will not know Saleh Muslim. He's been a really key leader of the struggle in Rojava, and he's the former co-chair of the Democratic Union Party, the PYD, the main party of the Autonomous Administration of North and East Syria. Thank you, Saleh. It'd be great to have you speak now. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Hi to everybody. I would like, by the name of Kobani people and people of Rojava, to thank everybody who arranged for this meeting to meet our friends in Australia and otherwhere or all over the world. And we are proud of our friends everywhere. Because they were beside us, I mean, all the time. Well, first of all, when we talk about Kobani, we should know geographically where is Kobani. Kobani is in the border of Turkey, the north of Syria, is a small town. Maybe the population of the town was about 60,000 people. Of course, we have villages, and so for all it was, all Kobani province was about 400,000 people. All of them are Kurdish. Maybe 1% are not Kurdish, but the others are Kurdish people. And it has been in the struggle since the Syrian Revolution in 2011. And in 2012, 19th of July, they announced the expel of all the government, institutions, and so from the Kobani. It was first step for democratic self-administration. It started in Kobani again. But before, when the fighting and armed fighting struggles started in Kobani, there were a lot of attacks on Kobani. And by those extremist groups, just like Nusra, Liwa al-Tawheed, and the others, and all of them, they were supported by Turkey. So it means Turkey, they have their own plans to destroy Kobani and the Kurdish area in Rojava. So the attacks continued since 2012 and on. And all these groups who were trying to get Kobani or to occupy Kobani, they were defeated by the Kobani themselves. I mean, Kobani people, and nobody was beside Kobani till there came time to time came to 2014 when Daesh was established, and of course we believe that even there were Turkey has helped them to establish, because they have their people inside Daesh at the beginning. And then Daesh started just like a wave from were established and went to Mosul and then to Shangal, the story, and then directed themselves to Syria in Deir ez-Zor and Raqqa, and they also were directed to Kobani, which was to make a connection with Turkey. I mean, to have all these areas under their control, and Turkey will be able, I mean, to do it. So when they expanded to Mosul, it was a big city, and they got a lot of weapons from the, Iraqi army. And then when they came to Syria, they also got a lot of weapons from the Syrian army, which the state armies, just like the Iraqi army and Syrian army, they couldn't stand against those Daesh people till they reached to Kobani. And Kobani, of course, because they had already, they were struggling against the other groups, they decided to, of course, to face this one. But during, this expanding of Daesh from Mosul to Deir ez-Zor to Raqqa, all the media and the world were following them. And they were following what they were doing. I mean, how brutal they were, slaughtering the people, killing them, burning, doing everything. So, all the world was worried about what's going on, what it will be. And they started to make some explosions. In Europe, in the other countries, and so everybody in the world was scared of what Daesh is going to do. So it was a big fear among all the people. When the turn came to Kobani resisted. Maybe some people say why Mosul and Deir ez-Zor and Raqqa, they didn't get so support from the world. I think because they didn't resist. Maybe the Mosul fall was within 6 hours, so there was no resisting, to have support from the other people. And also the same in Deir ez-Zor and Raqqa, just maybe a few days, 1 or 2 days, and it's fallen. Just some groups over there are defending these cities. And Daesh was able to fight against them and to get victory against them and to occupy these areas. But when the turn came to Kobani, it was different. Those people over there, they were fighting very hardly. And the first attacks, large attacks, what started in 15th of September, 2014, and continued till all the Kurdish people everywhere, they just rise up against that to support Kobani. And then all the world came. The big day was, of course, 1st of November, when all the people went out. And the decision to announce the day of Kobani, the global day for Kobani, it was mainly decided in the European Parliament conference. It was, I think, in December 2014. And because of this, all the world standing beside Kobani, they decided to make the 1st of November as a global day for Kobani, or global day for fighting the terrorism. This was the decision made in the European Parliament. So it was decided by European Parliament. So this is it. Of course, as you know, Kobani, with their friends, and then all the Kurdish people rised everywhere, especially in North Kurdistan, And even if you go to Kobani now, maybe you will find the martyrs from Mahabad, from Diyarbakir, from Mosul, from Suleimani, and of course international, friends who martyred beside the Kurdish people. So this was a first global, maybe solidarity in this huge amount. I mean, everybody, if you resist, if you do fight for everybody, and everybody was afraid of Daesh, and this Daesh, of course, as you know, was defeated in Kobani, or starting the defeat, and then it was followed by the other places. I mean, Kobani was rescued, and then liberation of Raqqa, liberation of Manbij, liberation of Deir ez-Zor, all happened with all the people they supported and with the international coalition. So really, it's a very huge story, I mean, for solidarity over all the world, because we were right and we were defending the humanitarian values, the humanitarians maybe for peace and brotherness. And of course, we have our project, I mean, for the solution in Syria and for all the people. So this is the why Kobani became a symbol for all the people fighting with their own will and own, resources, to fight against the Husians. So if you have a will and you are organized, maybe you can do a lot of things, especially if you have just friends everywhere, international friends and organizations supporting you, and you are defending, the rights of the people, of the humanity. And of course, at the end, we are, I'm saying again, we are proud of, I am from Kobani also, and we're proud of seeing this, proud of to become a symbol for solidarity of the people over all the world. And of course, we are still insisting to make freedom for our people and to have recognized by the other nations. Our struggle is still continuing, hasn't finished yet. And of course, we would like to have all our friends, over all the wars, and even like Australian people, which they have some of their friends were martyred among the Democratic Syrian Forces and even YPG and YPJ. So we are proud of that too. And we would like, to continue, the memories of those martyrs with our peoples. And we thank all our friends over all the world and the friends in Australia who organized this event to make us able to talk to each other. And I will be ready for any questions you directed to me. Thank you very much again for everybody.
Thank you very much, Saleh. And then I'll pass it over to Fionn to introduce the next speaker. You're muted, Fionn.
Yes,
Yeah,
sorry, I realize now. Thanks, Sue, and thank you, Saleh. Our next speaker is Roziv Ahmed. Hopefully it's pronounced correctly. She's a young woman, she's an activist, and she's based with the Genealogy Center in Kobani. I assume a lot of people here tonight will know what genealogy refers to, but my understanding is that it's effectively the women's studies or feminism in the context of the Kurdish freedom movement. And Roziv will speak in Kurdish, and she'll be translated by our friend here in Melbourne, Heval Herki. So over to you, Roziv and Heval. Thank you.
بلش خا أمجي سباسيوات كان كو وك جهة كي وصا رنج كي وصا بحبر النقاش بكين شقا تسبيك دارني متخزن شهيدين كو بروجين شر كوباني دا يان برخدانا ست سالة دا كوجيه فكرتن وك أريميركان وك ريفانا وك شوبدارين و أم ببيرونن جبركو بفين وبإرادة وبحسكرن دي في واردة برخوادانية كي هري مزن برخواد دا من دمه جبو تكوشين آزادي و اشتخاصية في ولاتية استخدم دسبه كده سر بردوامونا آخفتنا بريز صالح مسلم جي از ببيجم جي يعني شخوا روجا يك مجداري يعني روجا يك نوفمبر شخوا تين أسكرن روجا جيهانية يا كوباني كو إدي رخصتين تشاركين جيهاني بشكرين دان كوباني أو جي مبادقوت جي بتكوشين كساياتين كوية شريطة في برخوطانية جيه خاقرتن بسیاوان ایدیم دنیرن ناسنامه دوی باجاری دا ناسنامه دوی برخدانی دا همو جهانی کو ایدیده روجا دا شورشی کهیه یعنی ما تخص تسبیک دوی بجن یعنی ام دنیرن تسبیک
Sorry, Rosif, could I just interrupt? Sorry, just to make sure that you make some space, some time for the translator, please.
Okay. روزی گلک سپاس روزی جبرکو از بکار گوتنیت باش یعنی برگردیم به انگلیسی کلمه خو از دمت پاراگراف داوی نه از داوی از دست پی بکن بارکم حوالا نوجین بوته ورگیرا سرکی می دیوان فیون گل خیرات ناتا که راست گل که خواهش بی کوهنگوی روژت بشتارن جا اکادمی جینلوژی بشتار مدبین. Ladies and gentlemen, I just going to translate briefly Rosif to the English. Rosif are very pleased and thank you to everyone for giving this opportunity to be here. This is a historical moment to be in to reflect the 1st of November and supporting her argument with the Mr. Saleh Muslim of the such a heroic effort and also her prayers and remembering of the martyrs and warriors of Kobani like Arimir Khan and the others who have thousand people who sacrificed their life. It is a Kobani, according to Rosif, is an identity of revolution, identity of a struggle and against the barbarism, and is also the key identity to Rojava as a key to revolution of Rojava. Rosif كلامك دعوك.
يعني امتنرن بطيبتي في عليتا منرن تسبيكا يعني أفكرنا شورشة روجافاي كردستاني دا شو قد هزن يعني سركين ارتشبون أبابون وك يكنين بارستنا قال يبهجي همان دم يكنين بارستنا جن يبهجي يكنين بارستنا جن يبهجي رولا خدشوا الليست بالخدانية دا يعني بطيبتي برخدانية 6 سالة عند كوباني دا يعني برولك خواكو إثبات كر إيرو بنيرن جند كاره دجبري ارتشك يعني تشتاين وقت داعش شربكي يعني ام دنيرن داعش بشي وازي الشركر يعني بشي وازي كي هو بتي الشركر هم بريوي كسا يعني دولة النبنة توي نقاربون ديجي في تشتان شربكن اما ام دنيرن إدي جنا كورت همان دمين جنين بين هرمين كود في رفيدا جي خوا قرتي بالنابين يكينين بارستنا جن بجيدا يعني الشرين وان شتان كر ونبترسبون يعني بهزكي كو ام بنهرن بهزا جن هف قرتنكي بهفرا قرتبون وشار دكر يعني مروف بنهر يبجي تشاوا رولاخا ليستين زيدا ترتب برخدانية دا يعني إذا هشت كو دناف انترناسيونال جهاني دا قشتي باندور ببي همان دم اف برخدانی جنید هات ناسکرن در واین ام بجن یکینیم پاراستنا جنجین رولن جنین دین ناف چواکیتا چاوا پشکری دان ناف بین برخدانی بکلیان شاوا یعنی مروف بنیرجی دناون کلیان دا پشکری دان شروانان ام با آوای مورال معنوی کو ایدی دنیری یعنی برخدانی کی بردوام دیگه يعني منابجن جواك شبي عليه نبو يكسر جي بشكل بتجي يعني بتشي واظيبة برخضانية كي ببين رنجي من جنات ماشية أم دنيرن بشتي يكي مجداري ده تبليبون انترناسيونال جن هن زيتتر قرطبون جبو يكنين فلسطين الجن وهمان دم جبون قادن جواكين ديناب رفن شور أشياء رجباتا يعني أو جيت بسايا بيبر خضانية بسايا يعني أم بيجن إثبات كرنا رولا جن دفي برخضانية ديال يعني مروف دنهرجي مروف جي دنهرجي يعني إدي برخضانية جوا باندور دكي سرفان كسايات يعني أم دنهرن برخضانية كوباني هشت كو نصنامية گشتی شورش روجاوی راگینه ناو جیهانی دا ایدی لسر عرض شورش روجاوی کردستان دا یعنی موقع بیشن باکور روجراتی سوری دا شورش اکتماشیه تکوشین اکتماشیه جبوهش کوبانی بو میناک و پشکری وک پیشنگی الوی برخدانی.
Thank you.
يا مسلمان.
Rosie, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I do my best to translate. My apology, she's speaking amazing Kurdish. I do my best to translate, to summarize her. Rosie saying after this battle of Kobani and the men and women, Mr. Speaker, if you could please, share that. After battle of the Kobani, the men and women that struggle and this barbarian and this ISIS, two people defense are merged: women defense force and people defense for YPJ and YPG, and the Kurdish women had taken huge roles and huge sacrifice. Despite all international community, all this technology that abandoned to the ISIS and security given, the only people who reflect the struggle against this barbarian was Kurdish woman. Kurdish woman has self-identified made a unique identity of the Kurdistan revolution and also contribute massively in the international arena of especially of the women and the reflection of women's of hope to stand up and defend Rojava. Of course, there are a lot of things she has mentioned, but because of due to details of the concept. But the important aspect she pointed out that Kurdish woman has taken role not just in the defense or military aspect of the things, but in the social and in economical, in every aspect of Rojava, women have taken role and have contributed to Rojava revolution. Today is a front runner of the international solidarity and international women's and organization across the board. My apologies if there is something missing. I'd like to add it, but because of extensive things. Rosie, please continue. كلامك بعد
بله شو يعني دشمنكي وك تشتين داعش كو دسبيكي دا وك الرزدار صالح مسلم جهاني سر زمان دسبيكي خواده إيريشين موسول وشين قالكر يعني مروف دنيري دشين قالي دا شاوا دس دريجين لسر جنين إيزيتين همان دمي دجبري ويدا أم دنيرنجي برخضانية يفجيت في عريضة جي هند زيدتر تجوار وهند زيدتر بحيزبو يعني مروف منك ونسر الزمان شيء تشتين داعشي دترسيان إذا بيدا بيتقص ندو قصتن كوبدستن يبجي كوارن كشتن جبر وق ذهنيتك يتشالا هشمن ديك يتشالا ناب داعش مو هجر كو جينك ما بكون جوي دم أزناك جنات يعني هشمن ديان داعش أو قصكي علي زين فلسطين خرط بو همان دم أول فلسطين سروانجي باندور بوشي يعني هم ناقصن تلك الإيديولوجيا وك تشتين داعش تشالا أبابو أما هم ناقصن بردا بردوان بكين بشتي وجه مروف دنيري اف برخودانن اف تكوشينن كود سر روجاوايا دا كواتي مشاندن بتايبتي دناو برخودانا 7 ساله دا إدي زيدتر بشتي وين يعني وك سازين كو برشكريان بدن جن هن زيدتر برفرح بون و آبابون منا كان بجن وك كونغراي ستار هم بری و بردوام بونه دستاین جن هم بری و بردوام بونه چیش خوا ریخستنه یعنی وک ام بیشن سیستم ریوبریا خسر جی به سیستم که هفت سروکتی دست خوا دیگره یعنی اوجی دهیلاج کورولا شنجی دیدا هیا جی اما دخوازن ببه جنجی مدف یعنی دگوتن طاویة دنجی جنولوژی لسر في أساس وان تكوشنان سر أساس وان دسكفتين كو أبابو إد بيوستا وك زانستكي وان ببارسي وزانستكي برنج جنيه بيجي هوال المجي هاني سر زمان جي دس بيكو جنولوژي وك فامينيسما كردانة يعني شخوا حرتمنا جهاني دا وصل ديدن ناسكرن كو جنولوژي فامينيسم كردانة ونأ جنولوژي وك زانستكي جناية أما عندما وك زانستكي جيانية يعني شما زانستا جيانية جبركو دهندري خدا نقاش هفجانا الذاتية جبونا وجه جنولوژي جي إديام دنيرن شورشا روجاوا دقاهين زيادة الريخستن كر وك ألانين كو تيدا شربو ألانين كو تيدا برخدانين تيدا مشاندية إدي رحبين نافندن وخواتك وكارو خواتن قد مشين شي يعني كارو خواتن بطيبتي أمسر كوباني ببيجن چاوا دمشينه بدو بشان دمشينه هم ليكولن واناليزن لسر بهريمه هم جي شيوازن پروردهن كو دمشينه ناب دبهريمه دا مناك مثلا جبو جوهرتنن هشمنديين هاي مناك جبو كوهين زيدتر زانست بده ناسكرن شو من هاني سر زمان يعني وقت زانستك تي ناسكرن جنولوجي برفرها انه وقت تلقركي كو ام بجرندس يعني شو عليا باش ين فيمينيزم جهاني شو ديجريدس هما دمج رخنين خوشي جبو فيمينيزم جي هي اما جنولوجي جي سر وان دسكفتيان يعني ام بنيرن بشورش جوای کردستان دا یکنیم پرستن جن دا یه پشه و به آواکرین وک امویژن سازی جن نین جواکی دا ریخستینین دا جنولوژی لسر وان خوا آواد که بنگه کی دیگره کار خبات خوا لسر و بنگه دمشینه يعني وك امبيراسل كورتاسيون دكارن في بيجن جنولوجي زانستا هر جيانا زات زانستا جيانا زانستا مودرنيتايا قبل يعني وك ام بيجن دجبري مودرنيتايا كابيتاليزم مودرنيتايا ديمقراطيكا يعني وك بنجح إبه بنجح مودرنيتايا ديمقراطيك جنولوجي جبونا وجه ليكونن اناليزن ما این زیادتر خورتر سروی زانسته جبوکو ام ایدی بای زانسته برفرح ناف سرامسر جهان بلاف بکن يعني ام دنيرن آلين انترناسيونال جهاني جي هم آلين فيمينيزم جهاني جي تفليبونه كي خورتشي لسر في زانستين هي وتين دورن روجاواي كردستان دا بمراخ كرن يعني بحس كرن مناك مقوط يعني وك يفجي تشانا دولا ناف برخدانية كوبانيتا دناف برخدانية كوبانيتا ناف جهانة دمتتشي يفجي وك ام دبجن برحتة ام إيرو زانستا جنولوجي ناف جهانة دبلافتي ونود كارن في عملية دا يعني بنرخين وك ورقارندنا ويبكن ايدين جي هوان نوجين يعني وك قادن جياني هين بنرخين
Rosin. Ladies and gentlemen, I just briefly summarize the Rosif statement. As according to Rosif, as you know, after the revolution and struggle in the Kobani and Strangen, as her reference to Shangal, horrific crime against a Kurdish woman, where women slaughters and sold in the market, to achieve and to strangle and to organize Kurdish women, such a horrific crime against them is not something that people can easily be rehabilitated or can be imagined. What Kurds, what this struggle, what YPG and Kurdish women had achieved. The strength of Kurdish women now is quite visible in all administrative, from Rojava Kuche, from Kongira Stars organization and all other organization in the Rojava. And YPJ, as a front runner of Kurdish self-defense in Rojava, has contributed so much of organizing women in the struggle. But main important topic she also referred to genealogy is she's saying that maybe international or other communities or worldwide people reference to genealogy as a Kurdish feminism, but that's the incorrect concept, and there is a shortcoming as a translation. Genealogy is about life, is about understanding principle of woman, of real, finding the real place of the woman, what women need to be, which woman has never been studied and researched properly in historical term up to now, to properly investigate, have a self-investigation and self-research and self-questioning of themselves. Of course, she's open, that genealogy open to question and criticism, but meanwhile also she's criticized the so-called worldwide feminism that have never translated, has never been so far putting a practical approach to the woman question worldwide. Genealogy is one of philosophy that not contained in the local area. It may concept go to some local area, but most importantly, a diverse, it reflected real and entire humanity as a woman, what the woman plays in the international arena on all aspects and social life. Is an extensive science, is a research, which is continue to develop, continue to gain the strength day by day. Thank you again to the audience and our co-chair speakers, and she will hand it over to, given that opportunity. She also mentioned there is a lot of concept to talk about this revolution due to the the timing. She will hand it over to Nujin, who she will continue to have her speech on English. Mr. Speaker.
Hi, thanks very much, Haval. And just before Nujin starts to speak, I'll just introduce her, or these are the notes I've got to introduce her with. Nujin Deria is a member of the Andrea Wolf Institute of Genealogy Academy. Nujin has also lived and worked in Jinwa for more than 2 years. Jinwa is a village of women in northeast Syria. And for people who aren't aware, the Andrea Wolf Institute was named after an internationalist woman who was born in Germany, who ended up being part of the struggle in the mountains of Kurdistan until she was killed by the Turkish military in 1998. And Andrea Wolf was someone who was hoping to link up liberation movements throughout the world. And that's really what led her to the mountains of Kurdistan. Hopefully I've got all of that right. So I'd like to introduce Nujin now to speak. Thank you.
Okay, so
you can start
once again,
now.
hello. Okay, can you hear me now? I hope so.
We can hear you well. Thanks, Nujin.
Okay. Yeah, once again, hello from here. I will speak directly in English. And yeah, in fact, it's a big honor also to participate in this kind of online webinar, like for this occasion also of the World Day of Kobani. Now also, like, yeah, already it has been said a lot what a big meaning, what a big importance the resistance of Kobani, the liberation of Kobani has had for here, but also for all over the world, of course. And like we saw a lot, like what this unity in resistance, like what kind of strength it actually develops. And also like for many people all over the world, I think it was a moment of like, yeah, somehow recognizing somehow like what is actually possible, no? Like recognizing that it is possible to fight against like this kind of fascist force as we see in Daesh, that it is possible actually to on the base of like this unity and resistance also to develop like a social revolution actually. And I want to like continue in the base of what already has been said by the other friends, and I especially want to speak about one example, like the example of the women's village Jinwa that has been constructed also as part of the revolutionary process here on the base of the women's revolution in this area. And yeah, in fact, like what we can see maybe, or what is the important point, what we also see, like starting, or like, yeah, what we see also the spark in this resistance and liberation of Kobani. At the same time, it's a struggle against occupation. It's a struggle against domination. It's a struggle against also oppression of women, of all genders, of people, living beings in general. At the same time, it's also the question of like, how does a free life look like, for example? How does a free society organize? How does a like free, democratic, ecological life look like? And also during the last years, a lot of experiences have been gained all around here, like through building the commune, through building council systems. Another approach to social justice, for example, through mediation, through neighborhood organizing. Another approach towards economy, actually, through like bringing back economy to like the roots of like cooperative organizing, for example. No? So there have been a lot of efforts to build cooperatives, to build like a council system, to build, like, for example, many people's academy spaces where people like really interact, where decision making is taking place, and so on. So, and yeah, one part of it, like one element of it, is also like the women's village Jinwa, and what we can see there actually is like that women and children are answering this question by themselves, no? Like this question of how to live, actually, how to like how to develop a free life together. And so like Jinwa has been like, let's say, like the first opening kind of statement has been held on the 25th of November in 2017. And why on that day? Because like the thought was, okay, like 25th of November is the day against violence against women, for example, no? And like what the Kurdish women's movement said on this point was like, okay, like we are like fighting against violence, we are fighting against occupation, but at the same time, like the strongest thing that we can actually do is building an alternative way of life and defending this way of life together. So like yes, it's important to blame, it's important to defend ourselves with weapons, for example, but the most important thing is actually building the life that we want to live freely together. And so, of course, this is happening not only in Jinwa, but Jinwa is really one like very crucial example. So there has been like immense, like a very intense building process of this village. So it's a village, like in the end there are 30 houses where people are living, like women and children are living together. There is a school for children, for example, because this is of course also a very important element. How are children growing up, for example? What kind of education, no? Like how can like children already grow up with and like an ethic of freedom, actually an ethic of solidarity, of like an ecological consciousness, for example, no? So there's like this like women are learning very different things, like theoretical philosophical seminars, for example, are organized there. On the other hand, also like a practical, practical courses and so on, like many different things. On the other hand, there's also like gardens, there's space for agriculture, there's a bakery where like the grains that are actually planted in the village are like from these grains, there's made bread also. There is like a communal kitchen, for example, because of course, like this, like communal economy is also a very like fundamental principle. And there's also like, which is very important, a health center in Jinwa. And this health center, it deals with the question of, okay, what means health actually? And like contrary to the approach of health, for example, in a capitalist system where like it's actually not about the health of the people, but mainly it's about selling like different medical products. It's about like who's the most expert and so on in some topics. But like what's the important thing here, like health is actually a very social issue. It's a very social question. It's like curing is not only happening through, for example, a few tablets, for example, that can be taken, but like curing or healing is actually a whole social process. So and like it happens in a communal way, for example, through sharing also knowledge about different methods of natural healing, for example. And at the same time, in this health center, like kind of like natural healing methods and modern medicine are also coming together. So kind of, forming a synthesis on this base. And in general, what we see in Genoa is really like, the like kind of experimenting and kind of like creating of these forms of life, deepening like a really intense process. Also this ecological aspect, of course, because, for example, the houses, they are all built in with adobe, with clay building kind of. So it's with natural natural ways of building also. And so like in general, and then of course also like the way how problems are answered, for example, how in a collective way answers can be found to problems. So all this, there are many steps done, for example, in Genoa, and of course, like in the whole region also. And and what can be said, of course, now, also there are many difficulties due to the situation of war, due to the continuous threats also, especially through the Turkish state. And that of course makes the situation also always very precarious, always very difficult at the same time. And but at the same time we see places like Genoa and and of course in general all the developments, they give a lot of hope, they give a lot of strength, and they give a lot of experiences also that have a enormous importance also for let's say historical developments all over the world as well. And maybe so far, because I think there are maybe many more topics, many more questions. I would stop here for now, I think. And I guess there's more topics to come. Thanks.
Well, thanks heaps for all of our speakers. That's a great introduction, and you've canvassed lots of issues, and I'm sure there'll be lots of questions on the topics you've raised and also on maybe other issues that including the political situation facing people in northeast Syria. I'll just explain how we're going to do the question and answer session, and I'll make a couple of announcements. Because we're operating in 3 languages tonight, Kurdish, Turkish, and English, we decided that rather than having people speak directly, we'll ask people to type their questions into the chat box. People can type them in English or Kurdish or Turkish, so people can choose what language you would like to type your questions in. If you have trouble finding the chat box, I think a lot of people have discovered it now after we've been using it for so long since COVID hit us, but there is an icon, or at least on my computer, there's an icon at the bottom of the screen called chat, which you click on that and then you can click into the chat box to type your question. While people are thinking about what questions they'd like to ask, I might just make an announcement. And if there are any other announcements from different people who are from different cities or online, please feel free to type them into the chat box. But in Sydney tomorrow, Sydney in Australia, there will be a World Kobani Day rally tomorrow, Sunday, at 3 p.m. at Sydney Town Hall. So yeah, anyone who's in Sydney, it'd be great if you're able to come along. Our rally for Kurdistan that we were planning in Melbourne in early August had to be postponed every time the lockdown was extended. And so we haven't worked out a new date for that, but certainly I'd encourage anyone to go along to the Sydney rally. We've still got some restrictions in Melbourne. That's why we didn't plan a rally in Melbourne, but we'll have to work out a rally that we'll organise coming soon. So I'd like to open up to any questions in the chat box. So first of all, there is a question from Ron Guy in Melbourne. His question is directed towards Rosiv and Nugent. Are there records of the abuses that have been happening, names, times, dates being kept, so that hopefully in the future crimes against humanity can have some justice and punishment? So that could, any of our speakers could answer that if anyone would like to do that. And Haval, do you want to translate the questions? You might have, so you haven't finished your role just yet. That might be worthwhile for you to translate the questions.
Yes, thank you. So if I may, I quickly translate it. میوانین هیجا برایس سو بو پرسکه نو ران وی پرسید بیجی جبرا کجارو اف جنایت و اف جنوساید کو جگلی کرد به تایبەتی بگشتی ج روجاوا هاتا کرن دوسیا هاتیه چکن روج و تاریخ و دیروکاوان یعنی همه هاتیه داکومنتر کرن کو پاشا روجه اف وحشتا کو جگلی کرد هاتیه کرن اف کسی اف کسانه او تشتکرنه بین دادور کرن و پیشبری محکمه و بین جزا کرن دگو سود بیجید کیشان ها و تخازید کارن برسی بیجید.
Who would like to answer? Could be anyone of the speakers.
Well, I can answer this question because we are involved in this case mainly. We have lawyers here in Syria. They have organized, and also we have some institutions for human rights, and so they are documenting everything in Afrin, in these occupied areas, like Tel Aviv, like Ras Al Ain, and other places. And they are making reports about that and trying to transfer them to the international institutions like Human Rights Watch and the others. But of course, I mean, we have a big lobby, especially from Turkey. As I mentioned, I mean, even the Daesh, for these attacks in Rojava and in Kobani, Turkey was behind everything. And still they are doing, and maybe you can follow these days also, there are threats to Rojava and north of Syria. So Turkey is main player for that against all the people, the Kurdish people, the others, the democratic system which was established in these areas. So they are trying all their efforts, I mean, to keep what's going on here. I mean, even they are prohibiting the journalists and those the other institutions for human rights investigations and so to pass to these areas. So it's we are in difficult situation now, but we are documenting everything, including the crimes against the humanity. I mean, in The Hague and in Holland. I mean, the other places. We are trying. We are documenting everything, and we believe that one day will come. All these crimes and the criminals will be facing the justice for the humanity. This is, we believe. Thank you.
Thanks, Saleh. So our next question is, are there any online courses, seminars we are able to attend regarding the Genealogy Academy? Haval, do you want to just translate this one?
Yes, so just mention so to be perse anagori ve perse je bara genealogy da che درست سر اینترنت سر آنلاین هنه که کسی بخوازن کارن سر اینترنت پرورده ببین یعنی درس زندی هنه جالی جینلوجی من وسادیت حوالا نوجین لینکا و سیتا و نویسی لی درس چه کورس درس هنه یعنی
Who would like to speak, Rosiv or Nujin?
روزی و نوجین هم کیشن تخازن تکارن برسی بید.
Yeah, okay, I can shortly answer in English. So in fact, yes, there are some courses, some seminars, also some like shorter videos or like explanations, also discussions about genealogy that can be found online as well. Yeah, we were already writing the genealogy website. So there can be found also a YouTube channel, for example, where a lot of videos are uploaded. These videos, they are like the language is mostly Kurdish, but a lot of them, they also have English subtitles, Spanish subtitles. So like everyone can check this. At the same time, through different channels also, there are webinars, for example, about genealogy. At the same time, maybe what's important to say also for genealogy that it's always very important to really gather, really come together. So of course, like a webinar, a seminar is something which can be a space to share, can be a space to come together, but somehow the essence of genealogy is also always related to how we are actually living, that we are like really coming together, that we are sitting next to each other, that we are like living together, getting to know each other, sharing knowledge, sharing experiences. So maybe this can be also like a proposal to like wherever you might be, to look if there is somebody who's working with genealogy, for example, ask, is it possible to organize a seminar to really come together like with also different women, for example, of different ages, of different backgrounds, and like this could be possible wherever people are. And I think this is also the strongest way how we can make connections, of course. And also, like for example, here, like through the institute, we also sometimes organize this kind of seminar. So if somebody is interested, we can also stay in contact, for example.
So Osnor was the person who asked that question. It sounds like maybe we should organise some direct contact for, there's a bit of interest in doing a seminar or webinar or something with people in Australia. So yeah, maybe we should do an exchange of emails or something. If that's it. The next question is from Ismet. I'll need Haval to translate for this one. This question. Can you see it, Ismet, underneath the? Sorry, Haval. Can you see?
Yes. Yes, I just see it. Sorry. So I'm just going to read it. Yes, the question Mr. Smet have is about what is the expectation of administration of Rojava, in particular to Australian people and Australian government. Is there any expectation or request that hoping that Australia can achieve?
Who would like to answer this question?
Sorry, just correcting this. So in particular to Kurdish people and Kurdish Australian Kurds.
Actually, Haval, do you want to read out the question in Kurdish for anyone who missed the question in the chat box?
اسمت وی پرسیده بشه پرسا من او خواسته که ریببری روژاوا چیه لگل کرد و حوالین کل استرالیا.
Now, who would like to answer? Saleh.
Can I answer some questions which directed to me?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Before that question, I mean for Ismet,
okay.
There was a question. Yeah, there was a question for me asking about these drones attacks on Kobani.
Yeah.
It was last week and the others. Actually, I mean, we have a ceasefire, I mean, between the Russian and Turkey from one side, and the other side was also a ceasefire between the United States and the Turkish state. It was, I mean, this agreement was in the 2019, but till now, these attacks never stopped, and those drones are everywhere. I mean, they're floating everywhere, and they never stopped, and they are making the attacks. The recent ones was in Kobani was for civilians, and as you know, 2 were martyred. The first one, I mean, in the first attacks, and there were 4 people injured also. And of course, we announced to everybody, and the people demonstrated, because we have a Russian base even in Kobani, close to Kobani. They went to there, but they have said we cannot do anything about that. And even they were, I mean, not doing their duties. And the second attacks was on the car including 3 members of Democratic Syrian Forces. They were coming to hospital after treating. They were returning back to their bases in Syria. In the way, it was hit by drone, and those 3 people, they were martyred also. So it's continuing. I mean, we have a lot of attacks happened in Qamishli, in Tel Tamer, in Ain Isa, so they never stopped. And this is only, they were the recent ones. And the second question was for these threats, I mean, by Turkey. Actually, we were saying from the beginning, I mean, even Turkish invasion in Shahba area and north of Syria, it happened when Daesh couldn't do it. I mean, they couldn't do their targets, what they were doing, I mean, to occupy these places. At that time, Turkey was involved, enforced to do it themselves. And this is what they are doing now. I mean, these threats, this recent threats, it's about this. I mean, they are trying not only here, I mean, even in Rojava, in Shangal, the other places, they are trying to continue, which Daesh failed to do it. So this is the problem, actually, is continuation of these attacks. For your question about what we are expecting from our people, of course, we believe, especially for Rojava Revolution and this Solidarity Day for the people, we believe that there is a unity among the Kurdish people everywhere. I mean, even in Australia or in United States or Europe or in the country, I mean, in Kurdistan itself, those 4 parts of Kurdistan. So all the people, Kurdish people, united. And our problem is still, I mean, we have a lot of the states and the people, they don't know what we are doing. Actually, what we are doing is we are defending the humanitarian values, which we need those values more than everybody else. So we would like, I mean, our people everywhere, even in Australia or everywhere, to explain our struggle to everybody, to know that we are defending for them. Australian people, I mean, they have martyrs. They were internationalists. They were martyred among us, and they know the reality. Maybe they can just go back about their memories, what they were doing. I mean, among the YPG and YPJ, and so just to introduce ourselves to the right way, because we have many attacks, I mean, everywhere by the Turkish government and their supporters that trying to blame us or to put us in the terrorist list. So because of that, I mean, we need all the Kurdish people and our friends also to defend us, that we are not terrorists, we are freedom fighters. And we, especially, I mean, in Rojava, we didn't attack anybody. We were just defending, I mean, legitimate defense of ourselves. We are not attacking anybody. And we liberated our areas, the place which we call it northeast of Syria, we liberated it from Daesh, from those occupied by Daesh and the other facilities supported by Turkey. And now we are still defending ourselves. So this is, I think, this truth should be known by everybody. And of course, I mean, our regards to our Kurdish people in Australia, I think they are doing their duties. And of course, we need much, and we would like to be in contact with them everywhere, not only in Australia, even in the United States, in Europe, because we feel the revolution is a power to collect all of us together. I mean, this is what we wish from them. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Saleh. Now, next question is from Dave. And the question is, one of the consequences of the struggle in Rojava is not only the 11,000 dead, but over 20,000 badly wounded and disabled. Could any of the speakers explain how does Rojava deal with this enormous burden on a small, struggling society? Having to look after so many people who've been disabled in the struggle. Haval, do you want to translate?
Yes, so
and then could be for anyone to answer.
Yeah, sure. Persa كيت هبالان دايف ج استراليا في كردستان هي برسيجيا بعد بيجيت د دما روج برخدانا روجاوا 11,000 شهید هاتنا داين نتني 11,000 ل 20,000 جي بريندارن آنها بيجي قالوا آنها روجاوا چاوا تقاريت يعني بريندارت خو او رفشا رشت خو او بر خدانا که جهر آلید که چاوات یعنی چه باندوری تخیت است چان کاری خو خباتا خو رفشا خو چارسد که به خباتا خو به ایش جانان.
Who would like to answer this one? Roziv.
بله جخوا یعنی آلیه که کمروف مثل که برینداریه که به آلی داهی جی بشورشی داشی یعنی هلبته هر شورش جی انسان دبه بردیل ویش بده یعنی اوجی بردیل ویش نهن دکوجی جوان خورتن کرد و دروای ویشی یعنی دروای نوالات جی یعنی جهان داشی یعنی کدک دان جبو پارستنا بینرخن به شورشی جی همان دمك كسايتنا هنا جي وك لاش خوجي برديلك جداري كي أما نعمل هين جيان جي هنا وك بريندارين الشرطة مروف بيجي هم بري بيجي تشوا جيانك بردوام ديكي جي خباتك تشوا ديري خصتن كرنجي بتششي وزير خصتن خد دومينه يعني متخصص ميناتك بتشوف بيشم دو هذا كوباني بشتي أو قصق الشهر بشتي أو قصق خرابونجي أما تدني ريجي خوندوان زانين جها كوباني جي جارة كمين جي دي زانين جها كده بالزمان خدا بالزمان ضاي كده بلاستيك زانين جها خدا هم بشين وجاين هم بشين زانستين داشي بتشي وزي بيروسكرن أف ضوية خوندا يعني خوندنا خدا بري خدا المجورستان الشهيدة همان دمن كسایت کو دویش ورشده یعنی شر برخدانیه دا بشتر جبونجی بیرزواهی و خلاط خود دان وان جبر وان رجی گوتن اگر نوون بیانا ذات المنی کاربوجی بسیاوجی ما بخاندنه کی دری رنگی بخانده اما بنرنجی در وایونجی سازی می رخصتنی سازی می جواکین یعنی سازی می ریوبری سر يعني وك دقرنا دست كسايت بريدار في شاري أو عندما الشهيد نبغى بشنجين في شورشة وهم عندما وك بشنجة كي كنت هزي كي قضى عظامك إدت جيانك بهز بردوام بك جيانك بمورال بردوام بك يعني أم بالصيغان بالسربلندي إن زيادة كار خورتبه ودومين يعني متكار بيتشارشو بيدا بنرخين
Galaxy Pass, Rosie. Ladies and gentlemen, the translation of Rosie, quite interesting. She also mentioned, yes, that is correct. There have been 11,000 martyrs, or 11,000, 20,000 injured one. Yes, that is correct. Maybe there are injured who lost their part of bodies or things, but with such a high morality and connectivity of between a strong strength and conscience between community, organization, peoples are such a moral hype. These people continue with the high joy to continue with their life and their art. Despite being injured, they are part of a struggle today as we speak. He said, I'll give you one example from the ashes of Kobani when Turkish jihadis and ISIS destroyed entire Kobani, turned it to ashes. We built a university by these people, by our people, and the graduate, just the other day, the graduation, he says, you should have seen it, that this graduate, they get their congratulation and saluted to our martyrs and injured to say this is the gift for them to be achieved for the first time in history. In here, we build a university and we educate in our own language. And he said, yes, a lot of things we're facing a lot of difficulty and a lot of complex issue, but as a society, as an ideology, that gift we have, we managing day by day problems, and we are solving as we go. Thanks, Sue.
Thanks. Now, the next question is from Tom in South, I'm assuming SA means South Australia. And the question is, when Afrin was occupied, presumably some of the hard-fought women's rights became compromised. Are there ways of maintaining those rights under occupation? Are those ways spread in the rest of Rojava in the case of occupation?
Thank you. So, persadی هست. پرسجی او دما افرین کتابن چتیت ترکان و جهادیان گلک مافی مروان به تایبتی مافا جنان هاتا به تمامی هاتا گرتن و قدغه کرن و بمپار کرن گلو آنگوری فکرا بیرو باوری وان دو رفشا ایرو دا کو افرین بن دسته گلو دکارن چه ریو متوت دناوی بندستی دا بو جنت کو ایرو بندستن بیتا کرن یعنی چه چالاکی دکارن بینا کرن.
Who would like to answer this one?
يعني ما تخص في عليتا يعني حرج قصكي ما قلت دسكفتين بيشور الشيدا بالتكوشينا يعني وك بهذا جنجي بمعنوياتك قرت بردوام بك أما مخابن أميرو تنيرن بتشي وازبن بشرن طيبت دولتا تركو هفكارن واجي دغازن إيرشكي بدن سرجنة يعني مرو بنير دعفرين دا حرتن تنديك لسرجناجي جنا لور هاي يعني هم تجاوز كرن هم بقرن چابديرية كسروي بكن ومن زارن إيدي تش راستي جيان جديك وراستي تش دبه هم بري وج وق جينولوجي في علي دا چالاكي ما چاوا هي ام فانا وق يعني بقرن دست إيدي اللي كلنا أناليز هم بري بدا بدو منك تنديك بتشي وازي سربام تمشان افتندي بتشرنجية وتشي بالدور تكسر قصايات وجان عالية دبتون دي ددوماندن يعني مروف بنهري في عالي دالشي نتهني أمبيشن دي تشارشوفايا دا عفرين سريكانية وغريس بيدا بكشتي رجاغاي كردستان دا أمدنيرن تنديكي خورد يعني عالية كو هر قسكي برديل ضاية جنا كورد يعني مجن جنا اللي هرمي دا برديلك ضاية أما تنديكي سروجي تجبركو تغازي أبهزي بحليني وبهزي بقردست وخلاص بكيجي جبلوجي يعني ما وك كوميتايا الجنولوجي يعني متغازين بيزانستي هين خورد بدن ناف جلدا يعني وك أف زانستشي بدن نفسكر ناف جلدا شي كو يعني شيار بن حمبري إيرشين كوتنجي يعني وك شاركي ماجي في عريضة وك بانيرتين تدن مشاندن يعني بدياني ممكن جواكيرا همان دمي عم بيجن ليكولين يعني وقت بيجن باكشتن ليكولين توندي ليكولين ديموغرافيا ليكولين يعني سوسيولوجين جنان بهري ميدا يعني ام دومينن ومدغازن شيوازك اناليزن جواكي شو جينولوجي يك اركن وين ليكولين مقدم شنو سر يعني برسكريكن جواكي وبجواكي را ديالوج تمشي يعني إنك وقت أمشي زانستن بوزيتيفيزم جبر قضاء إدي لكلنا القضاء هو بدومينة يعني أرجع كل سرمية كوت أمشي جواك تشبرس كريك شو عندك هم بريوشي alternative ki kuti bidi çara seriye ki brenge jnoloji bidi çvak yani mtkarim bir bejin çara kime hem beriwe de vaya.
Gelek spas hevala Rozif. Ladies and gentlemen, translation in summarize. He say yes, let's fight the occupation. As you know, the Turkish and his jihadis, the concept, one of their primary aim to silence and brutalize is the voice of Kurdish women and the voice of women, and that's what they are more targeting women than anything else. That's part of horrific crime and violence. And as you can see, there are a lot of international documentation and proof in that. But as a concept, how we can, of course, this is through to the liberation and free of our society from these jihadis. But the concept, how we train and how we educate our people is through to science, genealogy, that we do a huge amount of effort to train and understand the concept and the difficulty that our society, in particular our women, is facing, and the brutality and the violence against them. We analyze and we documenting how to approach, how to in the way to we can to help and more putting different perspective and different path to our people. That's by this occupation. How can to, so it's a matter really what Rosif says is a matter of surviving. How, while this genealogy is about concept, how to find it, our sons of women in here in Afrin and occupied part of Kurdistan, how to make a people, our people day by day, to survive and to have a different way of life of the concept, these things. And they're doing a lot of work. They have to come with a lot of analysis and things, which is quite complex. I think so. I leave it to that. Thank you.
Thanks, Haval. Now, the next question is for Saleh Muslim. Saleh's already answered the question about the drone attacks, but this question is it true that the world is watching on while Erdogan is trying to attack Rojava and finish what ISIS couldn't? What's the USA doing?
Well, I answered that Turkey is trying to continue what Daesh failed to do it. So this is the same method. But I would like to have some comments about the questions which were answered by our colleagues. First of all, I mean, you asked about the injured people, I mean, in this war. Yes, we have 11,000 people, they were martyred, and of course it was during the fighting. I mean, maybe after the liberation of Baghuz, but after that we have also thousands of people that fight, I mean, against the Turkish state during their occupation for Serikani and for the others. They are not concluded. So our martyrs are more than that, of course, and our injured people also, they are huge amounts. What we are doing is now we have institutions for our society. One of them is the martyrs' families, because those martyrs, they have, some of them, they were married, they have children, they have families. We are trying to look after them by establishing, I mean, an institution called the martyrs' families. They have branches overall, I mean, in Rojava, in Kamishto, in Kobani, in Afrin and other places. They are trying to see their demands, what to do for them, the best way to help these families left behind, those martyrs. So this is, we consider them as a values, I mean, of our people. So we are trying to our best, I mean, to help them. This is one. The second one, also we have institutions for these injured people, called Establishment for the Injured People in the War. Also, there are thousands of them, but I mean, they are still a part of this struggle. They didn't give up because they have adopted themselves for this revolution. So they have a kind of houses for these injured people and institutions looking for them. They have branches everywhere. They have houses in Kamishlo, in Kobani, in other places, in Raqqa, all those injured people. Most of them, they are being treated. This is first. The second one, I mean, those people, maybe they didn't give, they adapted themselves for the revolution. So we have to try to make them for work for the society, especially they have courses and workers, and even they are sharing in the administration work. I mean, if they are able to do it according to what they can do. I mean, maybe if somebody has lost his hand or his leg, it doesn't mean he is out of the society. He can do a lot. So we are trying to help them, to adopt them with the society, the work you do, I mean, by making some courses for them, and even for the work to, to make them to join the society again. So for these purposes, is our aim to treat them first. A lot of them, they need to be treated outside of Rojava because we don't have so much facilities for operation, even for the surgeries, and so we try to send them out. And of course, we ask the people and our communities also to help us in this way, because they need to be treated maybe in Europe, in Italy, and we have some agreements even with some organizations, NGOs, to take those people out, to treat them and return back. So we are looking after them in this way. And of course, our people, mainly the Kurdish people and our friends, they are helping us for this subject too. So they are helping us to find the medicines for them, doctors, hospitals, outside, here, and sending the equipment, to here, in Rojava for those injured people. So this is the way we are looking for them, trying to get them to the society to do what they can do. So we didn't forget them, and we are maybe spending a lot of our resources for those injured people and for this martyrs' family. And of course, we ask all our friends also to help in these cases if they are able to do it. Yes, for the question you directed, I repeat again, we are under attacks by all these facilities. We have, for when we have threats from Turkey, also we have a lot of movements for these sleeping cells. And don't forget, those groups are located in Tel Aviv and Ras Al Ain, and even in Afrin. There are remains of those groups, those jihadist groups. They are the same mentality. There was a question by you asking for Afrin. For Afrin case, still, those groups living there. There are remains of those groups, and even including Daesh. And the methods with treating the people is the same method which Daesh was using against the people. In Afrin, for just to make clearance the situation of Afrin, now we have a camp, a refugee camp just beside Afrin, called Shahba, and the other camps. They include about 120,000 people, which DPIs from Afrin and there. So they are over there. This is one side. And the other side, we have Afrin Liberation Forces. They are making, their actions against those occupation, even Turkish, maybe you have heard some operations against those facilities. There is still fighting going on, defending our people left in Afrin. So the situation is like that. We are in a continuous war situation, really. Against the Turkish and this their mercenaries in all these areas. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Now, the next question comes from Mitchell, and he says, how deeply is the social revolution, for example, genealogy, democratic confederalism, being embraced across the broader society in the autonomous administration of Northeast Syria? Who would like to answer that? And maybe Haval might want to translate it.
Thank you, sir. I didn't see the question properly, but I just get it from your perspective. Try to translate the wording. پرسدیش هیا پرسوی بتایبتی بگشتی جنلوجی باندوراوی جسر یعنی سر روجاوا سر جواکی بگشتی یعنی جواکا تایبتی روجاوا چیه جیانا روجانه جنلوجی چه باندور خستی سر جیانا روجانه یا یعنی یا جیان یا گل بگشتی دبرا حریمیجی یا جی در بای حریمیجی.
Who would like to answer that one?
يعني ام بجن هم شورشا جواكي يعني تكوشينا جواكي عندما وك زانستا جنولوجي شو باندوركي أباكريا ناف جواكي دا وك وقتي جواني سر زمان جي شو باندوري عليه جنولوجي تندرس سر شو كده دما وك تي أكاديميان دا يعني وك الناف شو كده كنت وك دانا سينا جنولوجي تكي تدنيري مروف تكبي وفرق كو عند بيشن زانبون تشيا زانستكي تشاوكو عند غزل أبابكن برانكي كيبه وبتشينجيا كيبه زانس شو عند نيري روشلاتنا فيندا جين دفردا عندنا بندستا آليين والبرستو بابك صالاري وزاين برستين جوا كده أما بالزانستا جنولوجي أم تغازل إدي فانا درخين الهولي وبابي بيشنجي حمو جيهاني ve anne da jünoloji bandur bu ne ki şu an kutun kadar munhani sersima da serhamu jihani em hindine hem niqashime domine hem berdawamduna kari xwe dikke jî jivak şeyim dibe alikar aliye ketinci jare yani em aliyen mesela em bejin wek ribazın jünolojin henek mijarin xwe heye ku em lêkurin nav jivak de dimeşin jivak kevin wan kiriye ku ميلا كان فيجن دفيجن جي يعني امشي خدي بيزانستينا جي يعني ام دفيجن مثلا جينولوجي كسايات ديار كوفي كاريتكن يعني ويجي دكارن جي ببن جينولوجي جي هم جي ويجي دكارن جي يعني بالي كلين بدو من كو ايدي 6 سنه بستو كذا اثبات بك الجينولوجي يعني هم دنيرين 6 سنه بستو كذا بويا شورش الجينيجي دي 6 سنه بستو كذا بشورش الجيني دي بالجينولوجي اف 6 سنه زانست مهرق بده داين اما دمه ببراديكما يكي تشيك واغاديكي شكون هر زانستك هم دنيرين براديكما يكي وجه هي جينولوجي بأغيد خوا أغاديكي ببراديكما يكي كو ايكولوجيك ازادي ويعني ازاديه ايكولوژیک و همان دم ازاديه جنه وقت فرصتك دموکراتیک جواک جیان بکی جبوناوش يعني جواک تكبي باندربون آلية جنولوژی منك پروژه ما یکی من آجنولوژی کو ام بی خواطر بمشن وقت جوهرتن هشمندیان سلام دوه جوهرتن هشمندیان سلام كتب فرق كرن کو هر قصدي ما في خواهي هر قصدي ما في ريها بارا خوا جنج جياني داخلي يعني الناس كرشي يعني او نحرتش تكو جياني دا شو السيستم بس فداريام ديرن اب افكرني كيكو جن رولا خاطرها يا جو مغوتشي 6 سنه بستو يا كده جيام ديرن قرقرني كي هم بري جن دا اما تكوشينه كي هم بري وجه كو شورش كي راكين جيهانه اما بحر شورش ايدي ما قلتشي يعني مش قلت لك كويس بيك ده قلت داك بسبر نفسانستكي افزانشي ام جانتا زانستا جيولوجي ام بكارنجي ام برهيرو نقاش فين دمه ماشي كورتجي عليه شورش جواكي ده جام ديرن باندوربوني كي كورتجي ناف جواكي ده تشي دمهجي همان دمه هيل شوكتاري وجهي هيجي يعني ام بيجي وك تشوا فرصتكي شرجل شورش جري ناف جواكي ايدي هين زيادة قرطبة هين زيادة رخصتبوني خو عبادكي كو راستين كو إرشكي وك دولة ترك إرشكي وك أمري خصتين كو بالشوازن شاري طيبة ماشون جواك هم بري ودا إيدي هتيا فرقة وصاربونك هم بري ودا اشتكوشيني كشي دومينة كارل بيجي بقرطبة
Galax Pass, Rosie. Madam Speaker, I'm just going to summarize the conclusion what Rosie have said. Basically, yes, the genealogy is concept and is a broader impact and deep have outcome in northeast of overall in northeast of Syria in our society. It have deep role of liberation, of identifying of ecological liberation of all aspect women to understand the concept of life as an independent entity, as an independent human being. As 21st century we coming across 21st century identify Rosie as a revolution of women, but at the same time tragically is a concept can be translated of silencing and destroying the woman voice. But genealogy has put in its aspect and beyond, and is going beyond the borders that what Rojava is thinks. In today, you can see practical work of our society that Jinloji has achieved. Jinloji is working hand by hand through to this society and analyzing all today achievement and practical in our society in male-female relation in terms of all concept of social life, economical life, business-wise. So Jinloji had a huge impact on that way, and we continue to progress. And we're hoping 21st century will be century of women revolution. So, thank you, sir.
Thanks. Now we've got 3 more questions, and we also want to allow some time for the speakers to sum up at the end. So we've got a question from Tyler. Can Nujin tell us what a normal day in Jinhua involves? I guess that is a fairly broad question because people, you know, all sorts of different walks of life. But anyway, do this.
Okay, this is of course also like the answer for this could be very long. No, it would be also great to have more time maybe to speak about this, but I can maybe mention like some aspects, some points at least. Of course, what is like the most impressive maybe also or like about Jinhua is that of course there are a lot of daily, very daily works like garden work, like cooking together, like sitting together to solve a conflict, for example, which seems so daily, for example, no? But like because like what is happening in Jinhua is happening in this bigger context of like a revolutionary movement, actually, of like really like a strengthening of a whole women's system, let's say, no? Or like kind of this kind of women's revolution that is continuing to happen also. Because of this, of course, like this is always connected to like a very wide perspective, to a wide way of organizing together also, no? So it's really like this daily question of how to live, how to work, how to get up in the morning together, how to cook together, how to do all these kind of things, like related to this big question of how do we answer actually to this global crisis that we are facing in this like 21st century now, no? And how does a day in Jinhua look like? It depends a lot on the season. It depends a lot on like what current works are there. For example, like what is what we can say. Maybe of course, like the children, for example, they go to school in the morning. Like there's a group of women going to bake bread for the village in the morning, for example, and then sharing it in the village. There is like depending on the season, there's a lot of garden work, for example. We can also say that the different works, they are organized also like different women take different responsibilities. The responsibilities are also rotating. So maybe one woman takes the responsibility in this communal bakery for a while, and then I don't know, after some months maybe working more on like different works in the garden, for example, or like taking care about the sheep and so on. There is anyway different, let's say like different projects, different works going on. There is one project about like working on wool, actually, like on sheep wool and making, for example, clothes from it, like things, different things from it. And so this is happening then, when there's food time, for example, most of the time, like women are cooking together also, like it's of course, like cooking together, eating together is always a place of communality, of course, no? And then also, there is different activities with the children, different work. Sometimes visitors are coming, for example, then also discussions are happening. Sometimes visitors from outside are coming, then the visitors are asking a lot, then also the women of Jinhua are asking a lot, then discussions are happening, which is of course also very important, no? Like how such a place, for example, can open the discussion, can open the horizon of what we think is possible also as a possible solution to this global crisis that we are facing. Then maybe one important thing that like in Jinhua there's a village council also and village assembly twice a month. So all the women are coming together, evaluating life in the village, criticizing each other, evaluating, making proposals, making planning. Also the kids, they also make assemblies actually. Then they discuss about, I don't know, who hit whom and like how, like, yeah, what they want to do in the village, if they want another place for, I don't know, football or something. Also, the kids, they take responsibility in like watering trees, for example. So they also have like this kind of responsibility, which of course is also important for the kids. And then like, yeah, there's also like sometimes there are like festivals, or someone is singing or dancing together. So all this kind of things are also happening. And yeah, and of course, like this, yeah, it's really this question of how to develop daily life in resistance to occupation, in resistance also to these daily threats that actually are very present also in these days. No, like just yesterday there was through the internet, like somehow the information got spread that next to Dirbesiye on the Turkish side of the border, a lot of forces are gathering and having like ISIS flags and so on. So like there's this continuous threat, and also like this continuous fear that is actually produced through the Turkish state, through the different forces that are also allied to the Turkish state. So, and resisting to this, of course, it's like really, yeah, kind of keeping alive this vision of a free life, of a communal life, of an ecological life. And yeah, this is of course very meaningful, and I think it's a daily struggle also, no? Because nothing comes without contradictions. So it's also like living through these contradictions, like finding ways to deal with it, finding ways how to grow, how to develop further, how to like have an open view also on the things, and also how to like globally make connections between actually all these people who are like struggling for freedom, struggling for like a more like democratic, more ecological society is all part of it, I would say, in short.
Thank you. Now, I think the next two questions are for Saleh. So the first one from Ron is, just recently, Erdogan threatened to expel ambassadors from 12 countries, including Germany and the UK, over the jailing of a Turkish businessman, not to mention the tension over Mediterranean oil. Is the European Union politics starting to work against Erdogan? And then the other question is from Chidem. Haval Muslim, do you think the region gets enough support from the international community?
Thank you for your questions. I would like to make a small comment for Jinwar and for the women work on the genealogy, sorry. Well, we believe that the world, if it's led by the women, it will be peace and brotherness and a good life for everybody, because the women are, they are peace likers, and they would like to have, all the best for all the people. So this is our mentality. And for this, of course, in the Middle East, you have to change the mentalities. And already what they are doing, struggle for changing the mentality, which is the most difficult things. The effects in society, here in Rojava and northeast of Syria, we have now a system for co-presidency, which is women and men leading all the institutions and all organizations. And even for the social contract, we have 50-50, for all the institutions for the women to work. And also there was an example, maybe our colleagues, they mentioned the university graduation of Kobani. If you look at the picture, you will find, maybe 90% of the graduated, they were women. So it means the open way for them, to become and to lead the society. And this is changing of the mentalities. The big struggle for our women colleagues, and of course, and now even we, as a man, if we are in any institution, if we are working, if we don't find our colleague women beside us, we feel that something is missing. So all of this it means changing the mentality, and this is good things, I think, and everybody should do it. So this is the first. The second one, I mean, for the question for those ambassadors, and so I think the Turkish side and Turkish fascism, it just became an open, I mean, for everybody and everybody, I mean, even Europe and other countries, they started to find how this fascism in Turkey, inside and outside, how much is not acceptable even by the Turkish people. I mean, those 10 ambassadors, what they called is just, they were calling for Kavala release, which was, I think the European court has issued a decree for them to be released, and they didn't do it. And that just reminded the government, and it became a problem between them because they said, you are interfering. It's really, it's not. That means that Turkey is now not only fighting against the Kurdish people or trying to make their plans for Misaki Milli in our areas and the others. They are now against all the world. And really it's dangerous because they have problems with the Greece, they have problem in Libya, they have problem with all the Arab countries, and they have problem in Armenia with Azerbaijan. So I think everybody is trying to they get fed up from these Turkish policies. And I don't know how much they will do, but I think this mentality of the Turkish fascism is dangerous for everybody. So how it's going to be resolved, I don't know really, because it's not only related to us. And even these threats to Rojava and to north of Syria is coming because they failed to adopt with other policies outside. I mean, it's a kind of revenge against. They had, Erdogan had a meeting with Putin. They have a meeting with Biden, but he couldn't get anything. The way to make pressure on them is to threat the Rojava northeast of Syria, because in Syria they have Russian forces, they have American forces. It means threatening the Kurds, it means threatening them too, the system they have involved in Syria. So this is what they are doing, I mean, for me. Your second question was about, could you remind me, please?
Oh, it is from Chidem. Haval Muslim, do you think the region gets enough support from the international community?
Well, we hope so. Now we know, I mean, maybe we have in Syria actually soldiers, maybe the army, we have American army, we have Russian army, we have from many countries and even Iran. And so each of them, they are defending their interest in this country, I mean, in Syria. Nobody will hold a weapon to defend us. Mostly we should defend ourselves by organizing our people, by organizing ourselves and try to make, I mean, our precautions for this, I mean, any attacks, we should resist just to defend ourselves. And maybe they can support us by diplomacy in the politics and so. But now we are not expecting anybody to come and hold a weapon to defend us. And this is the truth. And we are preparing ourselves, I mean, for any attacks to resist. This is our decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Saleh. So we've now finished the questions, but we'd like to ask the speakers to make any final comments that you'd like to make after hearing all of the discussion and questions and so forth. I was wondering maybe if we start with either Roziv or Nujin, and then we'll work backwards to Saleh. Who would like to start? Just any final questions that you feel might not have been properly addressed, or important questions that you think might have been left out of the discussion. And you don't have to speak if you feel like everything's been answered as well.
So if I may translate it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So سپاسیابد کردم هاتنه داویا پروگراما خو پرس داوی هاتن تخازی گوتنه دا خازک پرسک تشتکی هنگو تایبیتی یا که ماسی که هر نهات یا گوتن کنما خو هند کارم بیشت سپاس.
I think you're muted.
يعني أمشي تغازر فيفرجن يعني شخا كساعتين وكين وكوبرش سكري ددين أف تكوشينة يعني أم هين زي تتر مورال دكلن يعني وك شاء رجع يك مجدار كول حمو جيهان فرشكري دا كوباني وديفر دا هين مورال تر بوجي كو حياتك شونا داعش بتاوي كده سرخك رجع كردستان ماشي جبونا وجه يعني يمشي يعني سباسيا وجه دكان يعني شقا جي رئيس قرتنا يا حنبري ودا شي يعني وهر تقصكي أما دفردا جي خباطن قا بتشي وازي سار بينو وأبين كو دفي شورا شيدا بتشكيلين كو جاني خفضا إرن وما دمين كو وك خو إثبات كنا في الشورى شدا أما هين زيادة ترقى خورت بكنا وتكوشين خاهين بردوان بكنا جي وسباسيات كنا.
Galax Spas, Razif. So just summarizing, Razif is thank you everyone who attending tonight and the speakers who gave opportunity to talk today. It's given boost of morale and huge effort to such a magnificent historical day of Kobani revolution, Kobani struggle is given internationally, given them boost and morals. Of course, with this morale and with this effort, they continue to do their work and their duty, and they're hoping that we'll have a better tomorrow that is coming.
Thanks very much, Razif. Nushin, do you have anything you want to add?
Not much for now. Also, thanks to everyone who was attending this seminar. And I think what is also important to take note is this thing of like, the resistance, the liberation of Kobani is one very important point and also process in history. And and it is very important that we see the continuation of this resistance, that we see the continuation of this struggle and efforts also for liberation, and also that we see that actually the movements, social movements, movements for liberation, movements for ecology, for women's liberation, all over, everywhere in the world, for example, are very much connected, no, and need to be much more connected, because actually this is what it needs also in these times of global crisis. And I think this is all our responsibility also, no, to deepen the links that we have to with each other, to support each other, to learn from each other, to exchange about different ways, different methods, different philosophical ideas, also different practices that we have, how to overcome this global crisis, also how to build alternatives. And I think days like today, discussions like today are one part of it. And I think it's very important wherever we are that we come together, that we really have the courage to actually build up something new, to defend this wish also for a free life, and that we do it together. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Nujin. Now, Saleh, would you like to make some final comments?
Well, first of all, I thank everybody who shared on this one and listened to us and organized such a meeting and seminar on Zoom. This is first. The second, I would like to say, I mean, the solidarity with the Kobani, it means solidarity with us, I mean, on our people on northeast east of Syria, which is enforcing us to be more, to rise up our struggle, because we feel to insist on this struggle, because we feel this struggle is not only our people here. I mean, it's for all the humans and our rights, and even our friends everywhere, even in Australia and some others. So they are feeling what we are doing, and this is make our duties maybe more humanitarian, because we feel we are not only defending ourselves, we are defending the humanity and defending our friends. And of course, we would like to have more such meetings on Zoom or in some other ways, to be together, to share our, our ideas and to help each other. I think this is something should be done for all the humanity. And we are proud, to be a riot of this kind of activities in northeast of Syria as a model and as something new, for the humanity. We are glad of that. And thank you very much again for everybody who shared and prepared for such a meeting.
Well, this brings us to the close of the meeting, but I'm sure we will have more such meetings in the future. On behalf of all of the organisers, the Australian Kurdish Federation, the Australians for Kurdistan, the Rojava Solidarity Sydney, I'd like to thank everyone for attending. I'd especially like to thank our speakers for trying to give us more information, more detail about the incredible social experiment and that people are an incredible level of democracy, like deep-rooted democracy that people are creating in the northeast Syrian area. Keep a lookout for more protests and activities that will be happening in different cities. And I'd really thank everybody for really participating. It's been really fantastic, and I'm sure we'll have more. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. And as Fion has said, Jinjian Azadi.
سپاس جبوا جبوا حواله باشدار بون ایک ورگر کری گلک سپاس جبوا گشکم سرچوان
گلک سپاس که ما مستراستی هم پرشاناز بین سربلند بین تا زحمت کشا
صاحب هم تم آمدن و تنگی بخوازم هم تم آمدن خدمت قوة دانا سپاس
سرکرتن جبرا خوب باشه سپاس
teşekkürler Salim. Teşekkürler Rosie ve Nurşin. Thank you.
Sağ olun Haval Çiğdem. Sanırım biraz iyi oldu, güzel oldu.
Bütün toplumumuz bugünü dört gözle bekliyordu. Eminim size bir şeyler söylemek için de sabırsızlanıyorlardır. Avustralya'da yaşayan bütün Kürt toplumu adına eş başkanımız, Federasyon eş başkanı İsmet Eval adına hepimiz adına sizlere çok teşekkür ediyoruz bu akşamki katılımınızdan dolayı.
Ben size çok teşekkür ederim. Yalnız demek istiyorum ki ne zaman isterseniz biz şey yapabiliriz, katılabiliriz. Yani şey olmasın, aramızdaki iletişim kesilmesin. Ne isterseniz biz yapabiliriz.
Elbette.
Çok teşekkürler. Başarılar. Arkadaşlara selamlar, saygılar.
Sağ olun.
Sağ olun.
Thank you.
Bizi Kobani Rojava, bizi PKK, bizi YPG. Katil polis!
چکیشانیا لسنگره رزیدلیا بو یکتری هل ریجا پاشانیش بو بر خدا سرکا ایزانی چویان لیبو اوی وارا لکوبانی چرا زیبو چرا زیبو رازی بر خودانی جنا قرآن شان باشانی کچا با پارێزگاری لە شار بوو ڕەونانی دۆژمێنان بوو چکیشانی با خباتو برخودانی رندانی خلافتو یا سکانی
That's all I think, Sue.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, Shabash, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Great,
It was really
Yeah,
wonderful
Mahariki.
night. It was very informative. Thank you very much for your times, guys.
I was just saying to Sue, I noticed there were 63 people was the most at one point, I think, which is pretty good.
And Fionn, just to that, some families, there are 2-3 people, they are not showing. So if we add that, we got over 100. Is that correct for you, Chidam?
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of people watching on the YouTubes as well.
Yeah.
I didn't really watch much.
Got up to about 6 or 7, I think, at one point.
Yeah.
All right.
And they stayed involved. You know, I checked at 9 o'clock, there was still 59, and at 20 past 9, there was still 54. So they didn't really leave much at all.
Still people are coming. Someone trying to get in, but I think it's too late.
Also, thanks everyone for doing all the Facebook live stream, YouTube, all of that sort of stuff. I think that was brilliant.
Yeah, we can end YouTube sharing.
Ended really well. I mean, it went really well. Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye.
See you soon.
If you are free to leave, I'm just gonna play one more music.
Okay. Thanks, Chidam.
I mean,
Bye-bye.
if Jacob gonna end the meeting, it's gonna end.
No worries. I'll see you all now.
See you.
Thanks to everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. شهروانو کسی یادای که به قربانو تو نهیلی طولامه به دست خوین میشانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو کسی یادای که به قربانو تو نهیلی طولامه به دست خوین میشانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو چلنگو از گوریده دل که یاری باراده تفگل سر میلانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو چلنگو از گوریده دل که یاری باراده تفگل سر میلانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو گرکتین برخانو لولی بده سنگانو بلسو بس که حیرانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو گرکتین برخانو لولی بده سنگانو بلسو بس که حیرانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو دریا دوست دزانو کس که سوران ازمانو یان چکادش منانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو دریا دوست دزانو کس که سوران ازمانو یان چکادش منانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو شهروانو
Thank you.